Welcome to the Outer Realm with Michelle Desrochers and Amelia Pisano. Airing live on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM in New Orleans.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Thursday night segment of The Outer Realm. We're broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network, UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 from the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM from beautiful New Orleans. We are fully sponsored by the amazing people over at Folgers Coffee who have been a part of our journey since the very beginning. So thank you, Folgers. We appreciate you so very much. Also, big thank you to Justin Snicker, a.k.a. Dr. Snick, the Sonic Surgeon, who is an award-winning composer of Halloween, horror, sci-fi, and dark wave electronic music. And it is his voice that you just heard and his music that you just heard on that fabulous intro. You can find him anywhere that you find any of your favorite music. Also, big thank you to Steve McGinnis, the artist behind the banners and logos here at the show. Check him out on Facebook and Instagram. He also specializes in the horror genre and does fabulous, I have to say fabulous, commission pieces of any type. So check him out. So tonight we welcome back Aage Nost. We're going to be discussing the Pentagon's, I guess, findings on the existence of ET in reverse engineering. We're also going to be talking about exopolitics. You know, some people are all about it. Some people are kind of like, no, we don't think so. We don't think there's a big galactic council. We don't think there's a space force. There's a whole lot of different theories about that. So we thought it would be interesting to challenge it. So we're going to be going from sort of one extreme over to the next. So I see people are chiming in. Hello, Catherine. We're also looking forward to it. So,
it's National Pie Day. Did you eat your pizza today? I did.
Oh my God.
I didn't even know. We actually went out for dinner. We eat early because of Sav, and she's like, I go, I don't want to order. Believe it or not, I don't want to order pizza. And she goes, you have to. It's National Pie Day.
Right.
Yeah, so I had my gnocchi with some pizza. It's in the fridge.
I love it.
But
I love it.
So that would be why my lips are stuck together. Just saying, I have a hard time when I go to a restaurant. I don't know what it is for you, but when I leave from the salt, the sodium, it's
Right.
like
Oh
it's
God.
just
That's a lot of fun, isn't it?
And I'm
oh
always
my
like,
God.
no, going to a restaurant, not taking takeout on show nights. Yeah, right.
I'd rather have takeout on show night. It's just less work for me to do.
It's a lot less. We eat early, so like my afternoon's gone because I have to start cooking.
Right.
But John had this idea yesterday, so it was like, he's like, do you want to just go over? Like, we have a usual spot. I'm not gonna say it. Just telling you.
Yeah.
If you know me, you know where I was. But
Right.
anyway, yeah.
There we
Yeah.
go.
Don't hate me, but
Busy to the end at my end. So as always, so that's always good time there.
Oh, crazy day today.
Yeah, just trying to wind down and say, okay, what are we talking about? Oh, wait, this is going to be fantastic. I love it. So I don't know. I think they've sort of been on this disclosure thing now for what, 2 years?
Oh, it's more than that. Yeah, I haven't been here every time. So yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So
wow.
Be curious. Aage is pretty versed in all this, keeps up with it. So we're waiting for him to chime in, guys.
Yeah,
and
there's a lot going on in the world. So I think that's why there's so much out there, so much information coming forward, and a lot of whistleblowers right now.
Yes.
In the news. I'm just going to say that. And I just would like to mention that one particular whistleblower, and I won't say what it's for because I don't want us to get pulled, magically in his mid-30s had a heart attack and died last week.
Well, that's a thing,
So,
isn't it?
yeah.
I think I think that ends up being a norm. I mean, we've read about a lot of different things like that, and we have to just sort of take a step back and
Well,
see what's conspiracy, what's factual,
this is
it's
a tough
tough.
one because it's MSM reporting it in the US. So
Right.
that's a tough one. But
Yeah.
we do know that he was set and due to go to court and testify against a particular institution, and voila.
And voila, there it is.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't know. I find I tend to be very skeptical in some ways. I mean, there's so much information out there, and there have been a couple of really big whistleblowers, Corey Good being one. And I think, from what I understand, the story goes that he was most likely threatened, or probably worse, his family, and then reneged on a lot of what he said,
That's
which,
what they're told to do. They're pressured to
of
do.
course, yeah,
Regardless of what the
of course.
whistleblower is, whether, you know, it's a whistleblower in the government, it's a whistleblower with the mob, it's a whistleblower, period, anything where you are interfering with money
Yep.
and an agenda, you have to be prepared for risking your life and your family's life. Candace Owens was doing a story again. I'm giving you a lot of stuff without giving you everything because it's so serious. She refused to continue the conversation and put it in one of her podcasts, the conversation, and that she was stopping there because she was afraid for her life. Now, Candace Owens is not just a podcast person. She's a big person in the news who left MSM. And her colleague is Ben Shapiro. They have a lot of colleagues. Mac Walsh is also in that genre and that type of reporting. And they are also, a lot of them are lawyers. So you have to take that into consideration when you're hearing them say, I'm fearing for my life and my family's life to continue this conversation or this investigation. You know, we live in a different world. We have a lot of accessible, like everything's accessible to us online, but we are also accessible to others.
Right.
So remember that when you're digging.
Right. You have to be careful. You know, desperate people do desperate things. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And sometimes when you're digging, I hear about people playing in the dark web and trying to find out information and researching. You have to remember they have back doors too to come and see who's peeking.
Right.
So I'm just like I'm the doomsayer today, but it's a just know, you know, remind yourself, we're living in different times. This is a different world. And as easily as I can access that information, they can find me. So just be careful, especially this young man. I see him as a brave person who risked his life. And the issue that he was whistleblowing on was very serious and could have changed a lot of people's lives. It's just really sad. It's not UFO disclosure. So it's just really sad. But I see him as a brave soul and as a lesson to maybe not dig so deep.
Right.
That's all.
I don't know. You know, while we're waiting, guys, chime in. What are your thoughts on the Pentagon saying? I mean, we'll get into it a lot more once Aage comes up. But what are your thoughts on disclosure? Is it a thing? I mean, there's a lot that has to do with, let's face it, there's a lot that has to do with reverse engineering, which they're saying, oh, no, that really wasn't a thing. You have some pretty famous people that have come forward, you know, like Canada, for example, the former Minister of Defense, who, you know, has passed away now, Paul Hellyer.
Yeah.
He came forward and
he was a pioneer.
He was one of the very first people to come forward and say, no, UFOs exist, extraterrestrials exist. And he stated with absolute certainty that at least 4 species, and I won't say species, races, have been visiting the planet for thousands of years. Then you're getting into, all of these presidents who knew about it. They knew about this. Like,
They're some of the greatest gaslighters in history. That's all
Yeah.
I'm going to say. Government, it goes way back to the beginning of time. And if you're a believer in Christ and you're a Christian, the gaslighting starts there too.
you
So,
do. You
yeah,
do. I know.
it's better to keep people in fear because that gives you power.
Right. Of course. Augie's not connected. I think he's trying to
Aw,
reconnect. Yeah.
yeah.
If you hear us, Augie, just maybe leave and try coming back in. That might help. Because I have no video for you, Augie. If you can hear us, we definitely need to give StreamYard permission to use your camera
Mm-hmm.
because it is video as well. So I think with that being said, we're looking at getting into this whole Pentagon thing. So essentially, they're saying that no, there's absolutely no evidence for alien technology. And this is a report that they've just released, which we will get into a little bit more with Augie. But how do you discredit everybody? Like, I agree. Government is always covering up, for sure. Catherine, they're telling us little white lies, as little as possible, to achieve their own agendas. Yeah, for sure.
I don't know if the people that are telling us white lies all necessarily know that they are telling us white lies.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, you know what I mean? Because you can't give information you don't have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's part of like what I'd like to call a criminal pyramid.
Well, I mean, right now, NASA's coming forward saying, okay, there's no evidence that UAPs are actually aliens. And NASA's saying, they're saying we don't know what they are. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I remember a pretty compelling story of Jackie Gleason being friends with Nixon, and Nixon taking him down to one of these,
Naughty Nixon.
Yeah, right.
Naughty
and so
Nixon.
he took him and showed him, I guess extraterrestrials. And Jackie Gleason was never the same again. He actually cried. He's just like he just cried for humanity. He just said, I can't undo this. I can't unsee this.
No, and I'm sure Nixon and Gleason being good friends, he probably was kind of, bringing him into it, so he had someone to bounce shit off of. Because
sorry, no doubt
my
at all.
S word, sorry, but
No
yeah,
doubt.
I just, when I think about all of the cover-ups and I get so angry, but I understand why they do it. But I get so angry because it's not for our protection because they've always been here. So it's really hard to say they're alien. I think they're just like us. Well, many of them.
Yeah.
So and that's still pushing in the year that we are in, the century that we are in. They are still pushing that you're crazy to think that line is very insulting. And it just doesn't work anymore.
Right.
It just doesn't work anymore. And like you always say, the cell phones, I don't think they counted on Apple and Samsung and all these big companies making really good phones with cameras. Because how many of us had a camera on us all the time? No one, unless you were a photographer. You know what I mean? You didn't. So, and even then, could you get your camera out in time? As quick as we are with these cell phones, you could never get a camera out of a camera bag, take your lens cap up. By the time you did that, if you got that photo, you were meant to get it. That's all I can say. Because there's no way you could, a cell phone is so quick and easy. It's like, click, 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 click.
I'm going to see.
Yeah, no problem.
Hello, Augie. How are you?
Well, hello.
Hi.
I don't have you on video.
I know. I keep clicking on the start camera and nothing happens.
You have to give it permission, I think. You have to give StreamYard permission to use it when you first log in.
I thought I did actually. So
I don't know.
yeah, I
Well,
thought.
Oh,
hang on.
okay.
We'll be back.
Oh, he has
No.
such a sweet voice. I love Augie.
Oh, see, when he comes back, because he's gone.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened there, but
He was
okay.
probably talking and telling you he's going to bounce out and bounce back in at the same time as he clicked it.
Maybe.
Ah, Dragon, good to see you. I think they are not allowed to question it. People that work closely with higher ups in government, I have no proof, but I believe they are lying. I believe a lot of them are lying. But again, I also believe that they're just telling you what they know. And they're given the information to put out there, kind of like our education.
Right. Right.
Kind of like our education system.
We can go with
We
that.
learn what they tell us, and I feel that
Yeah.
government levels are the same. And if you learned anything from Project Blue Book and all of
Oh,
these
yes.
different projects, it's always a need to know basis, and so is the
And we
presidential
apparently don't need to
position.
know.
No, and so is the presidential position. I
Yes.
think they stopped telling presidents things because they were seeing them
Well,
giving
certain
out this
presidents.
stuff. Yeah, but I
Certain
think
presidents,
I think
you
the
know.
last few knew nothing, to be honest. I think they only knew they're here and like bits and pieces like what's out there on the internet, and that's it. I don't think they were given information about Area 51 or underground, nothing.
I think within reason, because they have to, I don't know, have to, but I suppose you have to disclose a certain amount of
But very
information,
little.
But in the
There
end, there's people out there. There are cameras everywhere. There are satellites. There
Yeah.
are traffic, cameras, street cameras. There's security cameras. There's
those
this
can all be
we are a
manipulated.
world of endless video surveillance in one form or another.
Yeah.
And pretty much everyone, has at least a camera phone. You don't even have to have a sophisticated cell phone anymore to have like a decent little camera on there. People are
No, the
capturing
cameras are
things.
great.
And some things are not necessarily ET. They are reverse engineered because even beyond whistleblowers, there are people who have been contactees or abductees, and they are clearly being taken by their own people, our people. It's not like this is just, I mean, they get treated better, according to many, by ET than they do by their own people. Okay, we're gonna try Augie again. Okay, so I guess we're not getting you.
I got microphone, but I don't have it. It just doesn't come up.
That's
okay.
What craziness! Well,
it's just really screwy.
Oh, that's okay. We'll take you any way we can get you.
Yeah, this is. Oh, well.
That's okay. Just the folks on Roku won't be able to see you tonight, but they can hear you, right? So
well, with my mug, that's probably a good thing.
Oh no!
Stop.
We love you.
Oh well, welcome to the show. I'm sorry you're having a.
Well, thank you. Gosh, this is. Well.
Yeah.
I guess I'm just here.
You
but
are.
That's okay. This is old school radio now.
That's true.
Because for the FM listeners, this is normal.
No, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
For them, exactly.
For them, it's normal. They can't see you anyways on FM. So for them, they're fine.
Exactly.
So for the people listening on radio, I guess it wouldn't make any difference. But
yeah.
And the SoundCloud archive doesn't have any of our faces on it either. So we're okay. We'll get along. We'll get going just fine.
Yeah. You're the only one who's had this tech difficulty.
No.
We manage. We muddle through it. No problem.
Yeah. Well, gosh, what do you guys want to talk about? I'll ride back. I'll ride back seat with you wherever you're going.
Well, we were actually talking about. We thought we would start with, of course, the Pentagon this month coming out on March the 8th. They came out and basically said that, they're addressing this long-held belief that the government is covering the existence of aliens and UFOs and reverse engineering, and that it's all just experimental stuff and not enough evidence of everything. So all of their stealth technologies don't exist. Everything we've been seeing from the 40s to the 60s were experimental technologies of World War II and the Cold War. What are your thoughts on that whole report?
Yeah.
Go
Well,
crazy, Aage.
yeah, this is going to be crazy if you haven't heard it before, because for anybody out there that has a little bit of belief in what the government is telling you, they never got the memo.
No.
Because it appears to me like I'm old enough to remember what the term "we are being led down the primrose path," what that means.
Right.
And I think we're being set up, royally set up, because we hear from the patriot community out, oh, just follow the plan, trust the plan. There is a plan,
Right.
but it's their plan.
Right.
It is not ours.
Right.
There is all kinds of evidence out there. I have my favorite saying is that if all the evidence for UFOs and extraterrestrial presence was taken into a court of law and adjudicated in front of a judge and a jury, there would have been a hanging a long time ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right.
There is so much evidence. In fact, what their plan is, and it's in their own papers.
Right.
Even Werner von Braun talked to his secretary about it, that
Right.
there is a plan.
Project Bluebeam.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. And my friend here in Tucson, John D'Souza,
Right.
the ex-FBI agent,
Yes.
he said their plan of the Blue Beam program is imminent.
Really?
And of course, if you look at the word imminent in the UFO story saga, that could mean within the next year or two.
Right.
But
Right.
the thing is that in 1994, I'm going to dwell a little bit on Blue Beam first, because
Yeah, let's do that.
the government will never come out and say, hey, folks, we're sorry. We kept this from you and we lied our face off every time we open our mouth, but we're sorry. That's
Right.
never going to happen.
No.
Right.
Though they are going to be forced to, not by their own, because they have a plan, and that's the fake alien invasion. And in 1994, there was a Canadian journalist. His name was, a Russian name, Sergei Monsat or something like, yeah, I think it was that. And he exposed a NASA and CIA program that was well documented. And in fact, you can find the papers on the Blue Beam program on the CIA website. From what I hear from people is that they keep moving it around, so it's not really easy to find. But try in the reading room. You should be able to find the Project Blue Beam, and they talk about what they're going to do. And it's very well explained, because they talk about having the technology to create holographic images of flying discs in the sky.
Right.
So,
Right.
well, we know they can do that, because they did it in Dubai when they had the whales flying through the sky. So,
Right.
What?
Right.
yeah, they have shown us.
They do that now. Yes. Yeah.
But they also know that there is one segment of society that's not going to buy into this very easy, and that is the religious community.
Yes.
And they have a plan for that too. And that is that when this is going down, they plan to have Jesus coming in the sky, and he's going to be talking to the Christians. Huge image. Yeah, go
That's-
ahead.
They just had some report apparently
Yeah.
from the Vatican that says, sorry, Jesus will not be coming down after all. So that might sort of foil that plan a little bit. But the
Yeah.
faithful should still, be faithful.
Well, the CIA may not agree with the Pope, I suppose.
I don't know how, but we have to double check that statement, because
do.
the whole Catholic Church is based on him coming back. So I've got a few questions with that one.
It's a bit funky, but everything is funky right now. It's a sign of the times.
Yeah.
I know, but they're the last ones to move forward.
Yeah,
So-
absolutely. And what they're planning on doing, though, is that they're going to have this image of Jesus coming back in the sky. It's in their own paperwork. So what they're saying is that Jesus will be talking to you. You will hear his voice in their head, because they have this technology that is called voice to skull technology. And that the first patent I show on that dates back to about 1978 or so.
Right.
That show they beam microwaves at you, and they key voice in on the microwave, so that when they hit your head, it vibrates and you hear the voice.
Right.
So that's very simple. But then again, if you live in Saudi Arabia, that's not going to do too much. But they have one for them too. That is, Muhammad is coming back.
Right.
He's going to be up there. And then again, they also have the technology to key in on the microwave the vibration of fear, emotion, and these things are now, it's patented. They can do this.
Right.
And that's what they're working on. And according to John D'Souza, they are setting it up so that it's going to be one day when you walk outside and you're going to see sky is full of ships. And
other stuff.
Yes, Amelia, that other stuff is what I'm worried about.
Yeah.
Right.
Because they're in between them, there will be some real ships that will shoot at stuff on the ground and create fear.
Right. Right.
And the message from the guy in the sky saying, I am your God, just listen to your government and do what they say so they can protect you.
Well, I have an idea.
I'm all ears.
Why don't we continue doing what we're doing till the masses know that this is something, so that it's not a pandemic, like pandemonium reaction.
I think people are definitely doing exactly that, because Project Bluebeam, let's face it, it's out there. Do you think, Aage, the whole situation, remember the incident that happened at the Miami Mall, and allegedly there was very tall aliens that were walking around, and literally almost like every part of the police force showed up at the mall thinking it was fireworks, and kids were letting off fireworks. And meanwhile, there were witnesses who had seen these very tall, what they called extraterrestrial beings. Do you think this is some similar idea?
Well, I'm on the fence on that one in Miami, because there aren't that many cell phones. There were people in there, and usually people have cell phones, so there weren't that many of them. But there were another conflict. There were kids breaking windows and stealing things, but that does not warrant 50 police cars coming there.
No.
So there was something going on there that was out of the ordinary. Otherwise, all the police cars wouldn't show up.
That kind of police presence indicates bomb threats, to be honest with you.
Usually.
Yeah, that kind of police presence, that's what happens, because they require that many bodies to escort and evacuate the entire building, because they're sent based on how many square feet that place is.
Part of it, I think, was that years ago there was an incident, I think, with fireworks, and the mall did catch on fire and people died. And so maybe they were just taking it, playing devil's advocate. Kathy says, like 300 police. So That's a lot of
Wow.
police presence.
Yeah.
So, I agree with you, Augie, but I mean, there were people who captured photographs
Yeah,
of these things. So it's sort of
Yeah.
like, okay, that's interesting. So maybe the test was in Miami.
it could very well be. And on the other hand, too, when I say I'm on the fence, though, there wasn't a 50-50. I'm more in actually favor of that it did happen, because the veil is getting so much thinner now. I see there is sightings now of dogmen and other things around the country, much more so than it used to be.
Right.
So,
And why do we think that? And why do you think all these things are showing up? Do you think, first of all, what do you think they are? Do you think they're projection? Do you think they're extraterrestrial races? Do you think this is, again, cryptos? What is your dimensional,
well,
interdimensional beings?
I think what's showing up at night sometimes when people are out there and they see those hideous creatures, I don't think that's holographic images. I think that is because there is interdimensional
Yes.
access more so than it was before, because the veil is so much thinner. We are vibrating up to the kind of place where they are.
Right.
And I'm sure if we vibrate higher, are we going to see more of these?
See, that almost brings into question the whole climate change thing.
Yeah.
I'm probably not allowed to talk about that.
No, we're not allowed to talk about that. We'll get popped off
No.
YouTube for that. But
Yeah.
I think it raises a lot of different questions. I think things are starting to surface. I also think maybe it's a bit of an awakening. People are waking up to it because they're more open-minded, perhaps. Maybe something has to do with the collective consciousness that people are aware. I hear more and more people, and I read, more and more about more and more people who are having more experiences, and they're not just shrugging it off. They're actually questioning it. Like, is this real? What is this exactly?
Yeah.
It's not just disappearing,
No, I think that there is stuff coming in from outside of the physical.
Yes.
That is close to us in vibration. We're starting to see some of that stuff.
Right.
So now everybody out there says, I can't wait until I get into the fifth dimension. Well, are you sure that's where you want to be?
Right.
If
you don't know what it
handle
is,
it?
what
Yeah.
is the fifth dimension? How can you be certain about what? Is it a better place? I mean, I think to elevate densities, I think is an incredible thing. But we're in an age of uncertainty.
Can the human body do that, though? Can they survive in that frequency?
Evidently, they can survive in our frequency.
Yeah, but us in fifth dimension?
I don't. Well, the fifth dimension, first look at what it is.
Okay.
It is, you have the three dimensionals is where we are here, length, width, and height. Now you got a box. Nothing happens in that box until you add the fourth dimension to it, which is time. Now, the fourth dimension, now we see everything moving around. We are walking around. We look, I almost said you're looking at me. No, you're not, but I'm looking at you. So that is the fourth dimension. Now, the fifth dimension that is outside of that. Ask any astral traveler what it is like in the lower astral worlds, and you're not going to like what they will tell you. It's not a nice place, because that is the next to us above in vibration. So if we look at that, there are disembodied entities out there. There are what we call ghosts. There are entities out there that never had a human body. They're just hanging around because they like the vibration of that lower astral world. And then they're pranksters. They are not good entities. So when we enter into the fifth dimension, we better accelerate ourselves beyond that into the higher vibrations and where the light is. In the I'm an astral traveler, so I've been out there a lot, and I see even in the astral worlds there's good things, but it is not as lit up as here. It's a little darker.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, it doesn't have the light we have here,
Hmm.
but you can still see pretty good.
Right.
But there is entities out there. When they see you, they come and they want to communicate with you.
Hmm.
And they ask questions because they're frustrated. They're probably angry. They're heartbroken because, hey, I got run over by a truck and now here I am. What is going on here? I didn't think there was anything after I died.
Right.
So now you're going to get beyond that. First time out there as an astral travel, don't start talking to them because they will follow you home.
Interesting.
That
That's
is really interesting because my aunt used to say to me, when you have a dream and you see a past loved one, if they ask you to go with them, don't.
Yeah.
That's wow.
I agree with her.
Yeah, oh my gosh.
But which just seems kind of strange in a way, because if it's a past loved one or family member, it would almost be like in a dream. Why would they put you in harm's way like that?
It's not that they're taking you away. You're dying. That's what she used to say. That means you're dying in your sleep, so don't go.
Right.
Yeah, that's what could happen. No, not necessarily, but it could.
This is just a saying that they had in the part of Italy where I'm from.
Right.
Yeah. Wow.
But this is something that all of us is going to have to deal with one day. It's coming.
Our generation.
Yeah, so the higher vibrations are there, and we are going that direction. That is why we have thousands and thousands of ships in orbit around the Earth and around the moon. We can see them, and strong telescopes. You can see them in orbit around the moon. Huge ships.
So let's talk about that. Let's because now we're getting a little bit into exopolitics and galactic council and space fleet, solar warden, all of this stuff. So you have a lot of people on the fence with this who figure this is misinformation and we shouldn't believe it. But you also have a group of people who are like, no, we've seen this. We can. Whether they've remote viewed it or whether they have been a part of it. You have people who claim to have worked aboard some of these crafts and have come back. Like Dr. Michael Sala talks about, JP, like people of this nature. So where do you want to go with that? Like, we have a lot of people who are listening who have maybe heard about this a little bit or maybe not at all. So why don't you just take us through that, educate us?
Well, I can go as far as say you can actually go to YouTube and you can see some of this stuff. There's a guy in Canada. He has a YouTube channel. It's called Bruce Sees All. Bruce Sees All. He's got this channel where he's got a telescope that is so big I could crawl inside of it.
Wow.
And when he points that at the moon and keep turning the knobs until he gets as close as he can, you can see ships moving across the surface. You can see buildings on the ground up there.
On the moon?
Yes. In fact, on Broadcast Team Alpha, Nori and I put together a video documentary. It's called The Moon Pictures. You can go look at it. You can see some of those buildings up there. You can see a pyramid up there, and you can see all kinds of artifacts and, in fact, humanoids. And my big question is, though, would you find a pyramid up? Do you build pyramids in spacesuits? I doubt it.
I doubt it as well. Right.
I doubt you can do you can do anything other than walk in one.
Yeah, every time they open their mouth, they lie to you because there is probably around 2 to 4 million people living on the moon.
Really?
As far also there's air up there, not as much as here, but equivalent to about 18 to 20,000 feet, maybe 16,
So,
something like that.
who are these people living there?
Well, first of all, the Germans have a base up there, and the secret space program has one or two places up. And then again, there's another 30 different races that live on the inside, according to some people. I have never ventured inside there, but I have as an astro traveler, I've gone to the surface. I've seen some of the structures. I've seen the place where the Germans have their base.
Mm-hmm.
That is it's like a big a building like a swastika they found up there.
Great.
Yeah.
And you may have seen the picture of that. And
Right.
inside there, when they flew up there in about the end of a little bit before the end of World War II, they found this building and they fell in love, and they started rebuilding it. They start turning it into a place where they could have a base.
Mm-hmm.
And that's they may have more, but this is one place where they are. And they don't like you. They have a way to see. If you are an astro traveler and going there, you can go into the building, but you will be probably noticed. Well, at least I was, and they chased me out of there. Just, they didn't want me there.
Mm-hmm.
So they have also, like the dark side of the secret space program, they also have their ways. They don't want you on their ships either.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
So they have some technology where they can see into the light specter than what we can.
So, go ahead.
Now, this is something that I'm saying, and Bruce in Canada, Bruce Sees All on YouTube. You can see those ships. You can see the buildings. So for our so-called pretend government saying that there are no such thing as extraterrestrials, then it's a little slow. And also there is a document that was put together by NASA. It's called Chronological Catalog of Lunar Events.
Mm-hmm.
It was put together by Joseph Bloomerich, was a leading engineer at the Marshall Space Center in Huntsville, I think it is. He studied all the anomalies on the moon, lights up there, shadows up there, clouds up there, and explosions and stuff like that has been observed by people looking at the moon in telescope for almost 300 years since that they invented the telescope.
So, do you think the moon landing was a thing then?
Well, yeah, we've been on the moon. We've been there since the 1950s.
Right. So basically, though, it wasn't for the U.S. wasn't the first one up there. Essentially.
Oh no,
Right.
They were not the first. We didn't go there in the tin can either. We went there in something else.
Right.
But what Joseph Bloomerich said, he made a statement, and he said that I wrote it down actually because I want to read it to make sure I get it right.
Okay.
He studied all the anomalies on the moon for 18 months, and he came out and said the moon and Earth are and have been visited on a regular basis by extraterrestrial entities.
Right.
So there we go. That was NASA's official doc. That was classified for a long time, but they ran out of time, so they had to declassify it. And you can find it now. Google it. You will find it. So I think it's not. I don't think you can find it on NASA's website. They may have taken it down, but it's there. And Chronological Catalog of Lunar Events. And then again, there is more verification by government.
Right.
And Medvedev, the president of Russia, that's about probably 6-7 years ago now,
Hmm.
at an interview. At the end of the interview, the person interviewing, they asked him, "Is it true that you have information about extraterrestrials being here on Earth?" I'm paraphrasing now. That's more or less what the question was.
Hmm.
And he came back and says, "Oh yeah," it says, "when we take office, we get this dossier, that's just a file,
Hmm.
explaining about the UFOs and the
Yeah.
extraterrestrial presence here.
Well,
But
Russia was one of the first to disclose, actually.
yeah." And he said, "We can't talk about it because we're afraid of, panic."
Of course.
And he thought the camera was off, but it wasn't.
Right.
And the TV channel in Moscow, they thought that was so phenomenal. They ran the whole interview on Russian TV.
Mhm.
So he was on TV saying that. And now the Russian knows there's
Right.
extraterrestrial presence. But
Right.
of course, here in America, they're all too brainwashed to thinking that.
But why? Why do you think? I mean, most of the countries in the world, I mean, it wasn't all at the same time, but there are some countries that have always been fairly open, like France and Brazil, for the most part. I'm not saying they're telling you everything, but they're at least telling you something. And many of these countries are pretty forthcoming and saying, oh, yeah, they're out there. Why
Yep.
do you think the US is just bitterly hanging on to the fact that there's nothing worth talking about?
Well, you're right about many of these countries. The Russian Navy, they released all of their UFO information.
And Air Force.
Air Force, yes,
Yes.
and also the Brazilian government did.
Yes.
In Mexico, they released a whole bunch.
France.
France did,
Yes.
but
Yes.
the United States, you got to remember, it's all about the money here.
Hmm.
Power.
There's only two agendas in government, and that is money and power, not
Yeah.
necessarily in that order.
Correct.
No, and US being the strongest, well, not anymore, but
Yeah, no.
one of the strongest countries, they would want to hold on to that and not give it to ET.
Yeah, and on top of that, it's that not the American, but the U.S. government
Hmm.
is probably the most corrupt government in the world.
Oh,
I
there's
don't
one.
know about that.
Yeah.
Have you been reading about ours?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I
the
know.
fact, if I get pressed on that, I can probably prove it. But
Yeah, I don't know because
but
Governments can't. It is what it is. We can't.
we're even
necessarily-
questioning our Supreme Court
You
right
can't
now, and
trust
you can't
everybody,
even
yeah.
you can't
Yeah.
even overturn a verdict on them. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I know. But you
Yeah.
see, the
Yeah.
oil companies and the power companies, they pretty much control everybody in Congress and the House.
Right.
And they are telling them, don't mess with our cash flow.
Right.
Because the UFOs coming here, they probably don't use gasoline to come here.
Right.
I kind of doubt it.
Right. Without a
So-
doubt.
Because if they would become common knowledge and the technology they use became
Mhm.
common knowledge, there would be no use for oil or the electric company anymore.
I was just going to say they're not using electric vehicles either,
Yeah.
which is being pushed down
Mhm.
everybody's throats right now.
Yeah.
The thing is that they're fighting so hard to deny the existence of all of this, and yet you go back to Dwight Eisenhower, just for example, and he said to
Yeah.
have met with extraterrestrials.
Mhm.
He had a treaty with them. What does all this stuff just disappear? Like, do people just forget, or do they think that we just forget? Like they're not giving people a whole lot of credit with all of this. I mean, the government's been doing this, started with what, Dwight Eisenhower. But I mean, there've been other presidents who've met with them.
Yeah. People have short memories, and that's what they count on.
Right.
History in the United States is last month's newspaper.
Hmm. Right. Right.
So, and
Right now, yes.
what we
Sure.
see, when we listen to government, And what they're saying, there is no extraterrestrials, there's no UFOs except for what we make. Sure. Then,
Let's go with
then
that.
listen to what in about 1945, probably maybe early 1946, the United States, they acquired, we know, two of the Honeyboo 2s that the Nazi Germans made.
Mhm.
And
Right. Yeah.
these were anti-gravity machines. And they've had it since then. That's almost 80 years. I bet you they have created phenomenal things out of that. And that's why Ben Ritz, the head of the Lockheed Skunk Works, he made one
Mhm.
statement one time about a year after the movie E.T. came out.
Mhm.
He said, "We know how to take E.T. home." And it would not take a lifetime to
right.
do it. We already have the means to travel among the stars, but the
Right.
technologies are locked up in black projects, and it would take an act of God to ever get
Right.
it out to benefit mankind.
Right. Right.
So
It's so
Exactly.
frustrating.
we've been had.
It's
Right.
so frustrating. We need, I think, maybe a country on the other side of the world to inch out before us and put out that olive branch so that the rest will follow, because then North America is going to be saying, wait a minute, we know
Mm.
how.
Right.
It's almost
Yeah.
see, then that
Right.
goes into something completely different when you're talking about power and control in government. I don't even know if we're allowed to talk about that.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
But I would say curiosity, in your opinion, besides all of this, because like I say, this whole space fleet and such, and you know, moon being occupied. There's some people out there going, "What? Come on!" But what about let's jump over a little bit to these different races of ET. Who do you believe is still here? Because we know they've been here again, for hundreds of thousands of years, if not more, because of the fact that we're looking, we're finding out of place artifacts and mines that were used for uranium going back almost like 300 billion bloody years ago. This isn't something that's new. We're finding it. Things are surfacing. But which species do you believe, or races do you believe are here, and should we fear them? Are they here to help, or do we need to head for the hills?
Well, it appears to me as not everybody that comes here is our friend,
Right.
because there have been one incident that I remember, and that was a lady that was abducted by a flying disc.
Mhm.
And she was up there, she was on a table, and they were scraping skin, and they were taking samples of her, I guess.
Oh,
Right.
And then they walked off, left her alone in the room. And when she was alone, she was laying there for a while. And then she got off the table and started walking down the hallway. It was a curved hallway around the edge, and then there was rooms there. She got into one of the rooms, and she saw there were human bodies stored in round tanks.
Hmm.
There were
I have
human
nightmares.
bodies there. That was dead ones, I suppose.
But are we looking at ET, or are we looking at my lab?
Yeah.
Well, the people that scraped skin for her, they were Greys.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, we have other abductees that say, yeah, there were Greys there, but they also walked into the ship and they saw military humans in uniform.
Yeah.
Right.
That does not surprise me.
No.
No.
Mm.
So there is the CIA and the other dark side of government. They are working with the extraterrestrial, and they are allowing it. These abductions and this, whatever we would call it, when they take them and take their life and store them. And I don't know what they do in there,
Right.
Yeah.
but they
Right.
are cooperating and maybe even helping.
Right. Right. So basically, all these people who are having contact, and because there's so many different races out there, and there's a lot of controversy around them. For example, the reptilians. Do you know how much conspiracy goes around the reptilians? And yet there's some people who have really awesome experiences with reptilians and this, the big, scary mantis.
Yeah.
And are we judging a book by its cover, or, friend or foe?
Speaking of the book by its cover, I'm sitting here looking at it. I wish I could show it to you. There's a book called Secret Journey to Planet Serpo.
Okay.
That book explains that in the actually the latter part, I guess, of 1960s,
Right.
there was a landing by extraterrestrial. They call them the Ebens.
Yes.
And they met with the military here, and they
Right.
made the agreement that they're going to do an exchange.
Yes.
Send some of our people to their planet, and they were going to send a couple here.
Mm-hmm.
And on the front cover, there is a government FBI document that explains what they look like and, what they did. The
Right.
whole book explained the situation of that exchange. That is just one of the incidents when they have come here. Now, the Eben said that the people, the ships that crashed at Roswell, it was one of theirs.
Right.
So then they talk about, they had two people come here from Serpo, and they one of them died, and the EB number 2, I guess, lasted a little longer. And
Yeah, that was very, very sad.
Yeah,
They
kept
that
them
was
as
very, very sad.
Yeah, they were kept as prisoners on an Air Force base.
That was very sad.
Yeah.
I don't know. There are people right now who have a lot of different sightings, and there's a lot of stuff going on right now also. So let's talk about these space arcs and such. You've heard about these things? Do you think they exist?
The space what?
Space, or these cedar arcs. Sorry, cedar arcs.
Okay. Well, one of the spaceships that Bruce in Canada had taken a short movie footage of,
Right.
flying across the surface of the moon.
Right.
It probably was somewhere around 20 miles long.
Right.
Wow. Okay.
Huge cigar. And when they're that big, that's obviously a mothership. And there are other ships that is bigger than that.
Right.
On our website, broadcastteamalpha.com, in the picture gallery, we have pictures of it's a NASA print taken in the infrared spectrum.
Right.
Of a 800 mile. That's not that's another one. This one is 2,000 or so miles long ship sitting in right at the outer rim around Saturn.
Right.
I bet you have seen that picture.
Right.
I just actually peeked on Brucey's all, and I'm like astonished. I need a few hours with that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right.
I'm surprised they haven't taken them off.
Yeah. But these pictures cannot. These are NASA prints, and NASA admits, that's our print, but we don't know what it is.
Well, they're basically, they don't know what it is, but they're basically saying, the Pentagon is saying, no. We're all aware. This is all of us. Nothing of which you've seen is reverse engineering. And we did have a question about that for you with respects to, there you go.
Okay,
Wow,
Lady
we're on the
Spider Witch, hello. She asked, what is reverse engineering?
Yeah.
Well, that is, let's compare it to a car. Let's say an airplane. because we do reverse engineering on just about anything that we don't understand. The Chinese, they got their hands on an F-16 not long ago,
Ooh.
and evidently they have torn it apart, trying to figure out what each part is and how it works to when it's put together. When they know what the parts are and know what they work like, then they can try to put it back together and of course make more of it so they can understand, so they can, that's more or less reverse engineering it.
Right.
But we got to remember another thing: when the government say that there is no such thing, remember what the head of the CIA under Ronald Reagan said, William Casey. He said that when we find that everything the American public believe is false, we know our disinformation program is working.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Exactly.
the government telling you what they do.
Exactly. And it's also interesting because the government has had, CIA had so many programs on remote viewers, and you have entire government groups or approved groups of people who remote view and they see this stuff.
Yeah.
So how do you fund something, train people, and they say, oh no, you're wrong? Like it doesn't make a lot of sense. There are people, this is what they're trained to do.
Yeah. Uh, it's
You
just,
know, I know. I know.
sometimes, when you look at the big picture,
Mhm.
you just go quiet because you don't know what to say.
Mm-hmm.
There is, many government officials that has come out and told us about this.
Paul Hellyer, the
Yeah.
former defense minister of Canada, was he was really one of the first who came out and full on told you about everything.
Hmm. Yeah. And
You
then
know.
we forget.
Well, he stuck to it right up to his death, and
Yeah.
there was a lot of scientists that have come forth also and said, no, this is a thing. People who have, what I find the most interesting is pilots from the world wars, both world wars, who were told you had to be very, very quiet. You couldn't talk about the things that you saw. But you have all these deathbed confessions where they're talking about, no, we saw flying crafts. We know what we saw. We know there's nothing like we've ever seen.
Yeah. Now, the thing about it, though, is that just because it's a flying craft, round one without engines and,
Yeah.
wings, it doesn't have to be alien. It could be one of ours.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
Yeah.
many of them are.
Yes. Which, takes you back to the whole My Lab thing. How
Yeah.
many of them are responsible for some of these abductions? I mean, we've had guests, so I'm sure you've had guests on your show as well who've come forward and they're like, no, this happened, and these were our own people who did this to us.
Absolutely. Yeah. And there's a recent, within the last few weeks, I guess, there was a report that was written up by NASA and kind of got out, and also was written up in Scientific Research Publishing. And they talked, that NASA person that wrote this, he says, we found extraterrestrial life in the thermosphere. That found plasma beings and unidentified, UFOs. They think it could be pre-life, and the fourth state of matter being plasma. These are plasma beings because it look intelligent. They travel and they go straight back and forth. There's no gravity to it. And they've been seen in space. They have been seen in the higher atmosphere by pilots. So now these look to be intelligent
Right.
plasma beings.
Wow. So, what is your take on hybrids? A lot of people are coming forward claiming that they are hybrids. They're very comfortable in finally saying, you
Yeah,
know, they're not in hiding anymore, which leads me to think that maybe something is coming.
absolutely. And there are ladies out there that has been taken on board ships, and they were presented with little children,
Mm.
and they were told that these are yours,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't look like total human. They look kind of like humans, but they have bigger eyes,
Mm-hmm.
usually the kids, and they're a little different.
Right.
So
Right.
I am totally on board of the hybrids being even here,
Mm-hmm.
because let's say that somebody from the Pleiades, which they look just like us.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there could be hybrids there too, and they
So,
would look just like us.
right. So, why do you think some? Well, I mean, I guess yeah. I would say, why do you think some just look like they can blend in, and then others not so much? I mean, there are people out there who, whose eyes could change. Like, these are the ones that the big conspiracy. You see somebody's eyes slit, like reptilian style. Like
Yeah.
so. I mean, they're pretty advanced if that's the case.
Scary.
Well, I would think so, because chances are that they may have been around for several million years, and we don't have that long. But they have developed their mind to a higher level of affectivity and consciousness than we have.
Right.
And chances are also their genetics was not manipulated like us. We got 90 some percent of our genetic code is so-called junk DNA.
Huh. So that's what they're saying.
You wonder what's in there.
Well, I think that I think we definitely have been manipulated. There's a missing link in there, and obviously the missing link is that we have been manipulated. And as
Yeah.
Kathy says, it's Anunnaki. Do you feel we've been seeded by Anunnaki?
That was one race, but there
Yeah.
are others here. So they
Mhm. That seems
we
to be the big one for
yeah.
Does
whatever
that
reason.
Mhm.
that have a connection with the RH or no?
I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know if that has to do with our age. Augie, what are your thoughts on that? Some people believe it's the reptilians. Other people believe it's the Greys.
Well, the Anunnaki, they kind of looked like us. There was just that they had a little bigger heads, and they were taller
Mhm.
and little smarter, supposedly, because in the Sumerian tablets they talk that they took of their own substance
Yes.
when they created the atom, and they removed from them the ability to know what is in the other's mind. They removed the capability of, um, I should call it immortality, but I think they call it old age,
Mm-hmm.
because they ate something that was a white powder. From eating that powder, they were able to live basically forever. Anu said that he was over 100 SARS old.
Oh wow.
One SAR is 3,600 years.
Wow.
So
I
he
couldn't
had,
imagine spending that much time on Earth.
yeah, with other words, it put his age around 400,000 years.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty it's hard to get your head around the scope
Yeah.
of time to that degree, but it would make sense. It would make sense. And here I mean, I don't know. Can you want to get that, Amelia?
No, RH negative is from the Palladians and the Nordics.
See, I don't know that I agree with that
I don't
either.
agree with that
Yeah.
either.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Kathy.
Sorry. Just
Yeah.
it doesn't fit with everything that we've been researching for the last few years.
Yeah.
Well, I think, I think it came to be in the last 30,000 years And I won't say no that they're not instrumental in a degree of interference. I think most races who have been here either before us, who have coming from the stars, whether they're already here, I think they've all had a hand in
Mhm.
our evolution or our hindrance,
Yeah.
keeping us in the shadows. I think our own people are the worst for that. But I think, when you're looking at RH negative, which may be only have surfaced in the last 30,000 years, along with, people who all used to have brown eyes and brown hair, all of a sudden you have red hair, green eyes, blue eyes, blonde hair. I mean, you have a whole genetic of 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 characteristics that have
Hmm.
surfaced beyond just the blood type,
Yeah.
right?
There's more to it than that.
Yes.
Yeah, and then we have the Asian with the
Yes.
slanted eyes a little
Mm-hmm.
bit.
Mm-hmm.
On our website, I have a picture of a dead extraterrestrial that has those slanted eyes.
Hmm.
So
Interesting.
they were seeded here. The Asian races seeded here. I don't think they come out of the Eastern Africa.
Right. Right.
Then
So
the Aborigines, they say they come from a different place. The Dogon people
yes,
in
the
Africa,
Sirius star system.
some Sirius too.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
they explained 5,000 years ago, they came down here and they taught them how to create a,
Mm-hmm.
decent society and agriculture and stuff. And then they left.
Right. Right. And you get into the whole Hopi legends as well,
Yeah.
talking about the ant people, which sounds a lot like Greys,
Yep, they sure do.
right? And taking them underground. And then you have people in Peru who went through natural disasters and they went underground for like, I believe it was like decades with a reptilian
Yeah.
who helped them to survive and educated them, and brought them underground, which is where a lot of reptilians are said to be. I mean, I think for years and years and years, they've been talking about all this tunnel system underneath California, Los Angeles, which were reptilians. Like, I think, didn't they map that whole underground tunnel system only to find that they've tapped into some kind of a reptilian, pretty much a world that was just where they were all staying and had been for centuries.
Hmm.
I think there's more to it than what people realize.
Oh, yeah. People got to step out of the box. And once you step out of the box and you start discovering some of these things, your mind will never be the same.
I have nightmares after we have conversations like this.
Yeah.
No, but you know what? There were stories. I remember reading a story a few years ago of a woman who came home. This is Los Angeles, and she heard something like under her floor, and they didn't have basements in this area of LA, and something dug its way up through the floor of the house and came out a closet, and she
Ew.
said it was a reptilian type being.
Hmm.
Ugh.
Right? It's like, you'd never be the same after that. It's
No,
like,
I'd be in a straitjacket, especially if you don't even have an inkling that this exists.
oh,
Can you
Yeah.
yeah.
imagine like someone in the total dark that doesn't have these conversations, doesn't have this research, sees everything as Hollywood, sees that coming out of the closet? I think I'd be in a straitjacket
Hmm.
in a
Yeah.
rubber room. Seriously, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Either there or they'd be looking for you.
Well, they'd be putting you in a rubber room because they think you're insane, right?
Yeah.
And I think that would really mess with my mind.
Yeah. But there is a way that you can actually see those things every day if you try, and that get your hands on a fourth generation night vision goggles.
Good luck. That's hard.
Yeah, they're expensive, but
Yeah.
I've seen them on auction sites down to about $800.
You could probably get them on eBay.
Yeah, you probably
Yeah.
can, but then there's probably a regular price, and maybe a couple of thousand. But if you have those, go outside at night, point it into the sky, and you're going to see triangular ship. You're going to see cigar ship, round discs.
Yeah, I'm good.
Triangulars are supposed to be military, though, apparently.
Yeah.
Of course.
There's a traffic jam up there. They're all over the place flying around.
Right.
Then
Right.
also take it outside at dusk and look around your yard. Go down the street. You're going to see people walking down the street in your binoculars. That when you take the binoculars off, they're not there anymore.
I'm a medium. I already see that.
Yeah.
I already see that. It's, yeah.
And
It's not something that I like.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah.
because
Oh wow.
they are higher dimensional entities or spirit or whatever. Yeah.
Right.
That's the second time in about 10 days that we've heard those goggles being mentioned.
Well, there was those goggles, and then they have the other ones. I actually have a pair of the other ones. What the heck are they called? I can never pronounce it. Augie, you know the ones because you've actually been communication about that, and you commented on them. The blue spectrum ones where you can see auras. The aura glasses.
Yeah. Now there's a cheap way to do this, and I think I have not tried it, but I heard that it almost is just as effective, and that is get a hold of those glasses that you get when you go to see a 3D movie.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
There is a red one and a blue one.
Right.
Take them out of the frame, put them on top of each other,
Right.
and put it in front of your telescope or the lens on your smartphone.
Right.
Start taking pictures.
That's interesting. Would have been a lot cheaper than the glasses.
Why
Oh,
hasn't
Because
Apple
the ones
put that
that
on
I
the phone?
purchased, they had access to the notes from the doctor who invented them, and they've improved on them, and they're quite spectacular. They come with. I've got 3 different sets of different types of lenses. They're not inexpensive by any means, but I'm looking forward to playing around with them and seeing, because that's what I do. It's like if there's equipment out there, for example, I'll purchase the equipment. I want to know if it works. I used to do events where I would show this equipment and say, don't waste your money, or here's a cheaper version, and here's something that's just as effective. And, I have an arsenal of equipment that I've never used because it's really ridiculous.
She has her own armory.
But
Yeah.
but the glasses are interesting for sure.
Why haven't the big cell phone companies done that yet with their cameras?
it's all about the money.
Yeah, they could charge more. I mean, they already
Yeah.
charge an exorbitant amount of money for a damn phone.
Yeah.
Seriously.
So we have to actually take a very quick break for station and sponsor ID.
Let me get a drink because that's salty pizza.
That's a lot. It's a lot. So there you go.
So if I'm pausing, it's because of the pizza. Damn.
It's all about the pizza.
Oh my goodness, the pizza and the coffee. Yes, you are listening to The Outer Realm with Michelle Desrochers and Amelia Pisano, coming to you live from the beautiful city of New Orleans on 107.7 FM, as well as the Gulf Coast on 105.3 FM radio. We're live on the Roku channel, and we're archived there as well. Our returning guest tonight is our dear friend Aage Nost, and we are discussing exopolitics, ET races, reverse engineering. There's not much disclosure because there still isn't disclosure, or is there disclosure? It's an ongoing conversation that Michelle had mentioned earlier. It's been going on for almost 2 years. So if you are just tuning in, because we're having so much fun, it's always so much fun to have Aage on. I could listen to him all the time, like hours. You can stream our archives on any platform that you normally use. Simply search United Public Radio and then The Outer Realm to find us. Remember to click like and subscribe and add us to your playlist so you never miss an episode. If you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button and give us a like and set up your notifications also so you never miss us, right? You don't want to miss our show. Kindly share us with your family and friends. A huge thank you to Folgers Coffee for your continued support and sponsoring our show right from day one. We are going on 5 years. We love you and we thank you so much. Our fabulous banner and promo media is courtesy of Steve McGinnis, horror illustrator, fantastic artist who also creates commissioned pieces. And you can find him on Facebook. Thank you, Steve. Our intro and outro is courtesy of, love saying his name, Dr. Snick, the Sonic Surgeon, aka Justin Snicker, award-winning composer, vocalist, and musician. You can find his music on Amazon and Bandcamp and stream on any platform that you use. He's everywhere. He's also, when you're creating stories on Instagram or Facebook, you can find Dr. Snick's music there as well. You want to connect, you want to see his videos, find him on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you, Justin. Lastly, another reminder, kindly give us a like, hit that subscribe button. If you are on Facebook, check out our group page for all of the promos on upcoming shows, past shows, and information for the guests, as well as some videos. And again, hit like and please invite your friends.
And just a quick side note that the Outer Realm is sponsoring not one but two events this year. Contact and Disclosure Symposium 2024, Toronto, Canada. So this is the very first one that they're doing. It's going to be held on April 20th, 2024 at the Off-World Bar in Toronto. It will be a one-day event from 10 until 5. There are all kinds of speakers that they're lining up. So as that becomes more, as they start putting it together a little bit more, which is getting there, then we'll be able to share that with you guys. And of course, for the second year in a row, we're going to be, and we are sponsoring the Halifax Paranormal Symposium again, second year running, Saturday, October 12th, 2024 at the Halifax Tower Hotel and Conference Center. And again, it's a 9 until 6 one-day thing. Their guest speakers are already lined up. We've got Laura Warren, who's going to be talking about mediumship and protection techniques. We have Chris Rutkowski, who's going to be talking about alien abduction phenomenon. We have John Kruth talking about electronic psychokinesis. Elliot Van Dusen, who's not only been a frequent flyer on the show, but he's also got his own show with Dr. Jana Greenberg here on Tuesday nights called Science and Paranormal. He's going to be talking about law enforcement in the paranormal, and Holly Stevens talking about paranormal equipment, science versus television. So it's going to be a whole lot of fun. I hope that you guys can check them out as we go along. We'll be providing websites. If you just go to my website, which is michelledesrochers.com, just go look under current events and just click on one of those links and it'll take you right to them where you can buy tickets, etc. So check it out. Now, back to the show. Aage, back to you.
Yeah.
So,
oh gosh, we've been talking about some of the documentation on that. Yes, there is extraterrestrial presence, and there is UFOs that is not from Earth.
Yes.
And well, just for a moment, also remember Gary McKinnon. Gary McKinnon, over a young guy over in England, he hacked into NASA's computer and he found that, gosh, there was 30 names that was classified as non-terrestrial officers.
Really?
And he also found several names of the vessels where one of them was USSS Hillenkotter. Another one was USSS LeMay. And he searched the Navy vessels, the name of Navy vessels, and none of them had that name.
Wow.
Then we go back to a There was a citizens' hearing on disclosure in 2013 where Senator Mike Gravel, he's made the statement, we have a space force. It's in existence. It's there. That is a straight quote. So yes, when Trump created the Space Force, it's already been in operation for a long time. So I think they did that just so later on they can say, yeah, well, of course, Trump created that. We have a Space Force. They don't have to tell us that it's been operating for 40 years.
Right. Right. Hmm. Well, what do you foresee coming? I mean, like I said, we've had a lot of guests on who've talked about different aspects of this. You guys have been doing the same thing on your show. Where do you see this going? I mean, do you really think we need to watch our borders? Do you really think that, there's going to be some imminent space war invasion, or do you think we're all going to live in harmony and as we have been? We just need to be aware of the fact that we're not sharing this planet with just humanoids. We're sharing, well, a human race. We are sharing, in fact, with other in races of beings as well.
Well, you did mention watch the border, and I think that's very important because there is a lot of military men coming into the United States from other countries, not non-friendly countries,
Right.
and
Here
they are
too.
the UN is paying them $5,000 a month to be here, and they're putting them up in hotel, and these people are just hanging out, waiting for something. So the question is, what are they waiting for? Maybe they're waiting for something that there was a container coming off a ship in the harbor of San Francisco. And it was open, like a spot check, and they found it was full of weapon. So is that what they're smuggling into the country? Because Chinese now, they don't have to go through the regular checks. They got some type of clearance where they don't have to do that anymore. So the containers, they come out right off the ship and they're shipped inland.
What type of weaponry are we talking about?
I'm not so sure we can even say on the air.
No, we
Okay.
can't. We have to be
hand,
careful.
No, I was referring to, is it human or is it not?
Yeah. That hand weapons for
Okay.
Right.
military and so on. That's
Right.
the kind of stuff that they caught. So,
Right.
yeah.
So essentially, we're just looking at, like humans. None of us play nice in the sandbox. It's just a matter of time before, we all start. We're always fighting with one another, So
Yeah,
basically,
we're
go
good
ahead.
at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were so good at it because we have been lied to every time we turn around saying, oh, these guys are your enemies. You better go kill them.
Right.
I
Right.
think it's ego too.
Yeah.
Well, I think right now, I love that people are waking up. I love that people are becoming aware. They're looking at their own evolution and realizing that we are more than what we perceive ourselves to be. We're becoming more accepting of the fact that we're not alone. We're becoming more accepting of the fact that we can, develop abilities that we're meant to have. Like it's a part of us that has just been suppressed in us. And I think people are becoming a little bit more accepting of the fact that maybe, just maybe, we are, in contact with other beings. We're just not remembering it for whatever reason. Whole
Yeah.
other show with that, but yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And I think there's too many people now out there that's saying they have been contacted. I mean, there are thousands around the globe.
Right.
And too many to be just a coincidence.
Right.
I had a contact, and I think you, Amelia, you said one time that you had some form of a contact, didn't you?
That was me.
No,
Oh,
that
that
wouldn't
was
be
you.
me.
Okay.
Yeah, I would
That
never
was
admit
me.
to that.
I've had good contacts. I've had great experiences. It just
I
took me a
don't-
while to realize it. They were
I don't
great.
know if I've had any. I just don't welcome it.
Hmm.
I don't know if I have. I mean,
Yeah.
there's little hints and stuff, but like I
Yeah.
said, I don't. If I did, they wipe my memory. I don't
Yeah.
say no, and I don't say yes.
Yeah. But I think also that we have you in this mind-created universe where we live, or at least think we live, and we have a lot more control of our existence than we are told that we do, because
Mhm.
our mind can create things out of seemingly nothing sometimes, as long as we know to use the language to communicate with the unified field.
Mhm.
And we have done that with the mastermind that Nori Love and I put together.
Mhm.
I mean, uh, just one incident. There was a lady that she was basically on her deathbed in the hospital. They were going to put her on the ventilator, and a well, I shouldn't even say that name on the air, but a specific pharmaceutical
Right.
that seemed that everybody that got on that one, they died.
Mm.
That was going to be happening the next day. So we wrapped our mastermind around her, and we saw her walking out of the hospital perfectly healthy. And the next day she was doing that.
That's interesting.
The
Yeah.
collective.
And
Yep.
that should not have happened according to medical science.
Right.
So
Right.
there are many other things like creating rain out of basically not clear sky. There were some clouds, but in an hour and a half, there were howling rain.
Right. Right.
So, and many other things. That is what we can create in our own mind. And we have done that on our mastermind group. We go out and we plan the future going from where we are all the way into the future for as far as we want to plan it. And
Mhm.
we have put good things in it. And I wrote a book on that actually will explain very well how to do this. And that is this book, Spiritual Science, Higher Conscious Thinking, and How to Access the Universal Consciousness.
The
In, in
manifestation.
in that book, there I teach people how to use their mind in ways that you normally would think would be impossible.
Mhm.
And
And
by doing that, you can actually create the future around you with good things in it.
mhm. But just through manifestation. It almost sounds like, like we're living in a matrix and we can completely create our existence as we see fit, which is easy,
Uh,
which is actually more difficult than it sounds.
yes, well, the thing is that whoever wrote the manuscript for The Matrix,
Yes.
that was not a science fiction, that was a documentary.
It was a documentary. A lot of people don't realize all the different religions that he pulled from and the different spiritual backgrounds, and how things even like Buddhism plays a part in it, the little bits and pieces of there's so much. It's fascinating.
Oh, yes. Yeah. If you're buried in religion, you really don't know anything because you usually have studied only one book.
Mhm. I know.
And you're never going to find a book negate itself.
Right. Right. I know. It is wild though. It really is. It's wild. And I'll tell you that learn something new every day. There's so much information out there. And if
Yeah.
you just like I'm really terrible. I cross-reference everything to death like, several times over when I'm researching things because there is so much to know. And just keep an open mind
Yeah.
because I find that there's just so little time left to be playing around. Like really educate yourself. There's just a lot of things coming. And I think people need to be prepared for that. But a lot of great things coming. I mean, you look at all of these incredible archaeological finds that are happening. You know, it's almost like the water. You're finding more in the water. Technology is allowing us to find underwater civilizations and archaeological
Mhm.
locations. And then you look at in the rainforest, things like LiDAR and satellite imagery, we're able to find these old cities that we've thought were lost to us or may have been a myth, not even real because we've never seen it.
Yeah.
And I love this comment by Kathy.
A lot of hidden messages in the movies today. Yeah,
Yes.
always has been, and in art as well. Which, on that note, thank you, Kathy, for that segue. I just wanted to mention it's important that we, excuse me, that we, excuse me, that we read and pay attention to the books that they're taking off the shelves. See if you can find them for yourself. That's what I did when I saw the list go up. I immediately purchased them. Excuse me. And check them out if you have to, if they're still at libraries. Purchase them if you can, because they will not be available later. There's a reason why they're taking them off, and
That's
it's
right.
not racial. It's not a race card thing. They're just
No.
using that. There's a reason behind all that great literature. How is that great literature all of a sudden being racially profiled? And that's how you create division. So for your own, yourself, your own self-respect, your own knowledge, read these books,
Read between the
all the
lines,
time.
essentially.
Yeah, and stay off the internet. Honestly, try to get books and read and make your own, your own opinions of things. It's so important. It's the only way. I know there's a lot of people who hate to read and everything. I'm not one of them. I collect books. I have tons of books, very, very old leather-bound books, and you would be amazed at
Yep.
the information that you're missing.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
But,
it's just so important to read. How do
There-
we learn in school? Our generation read a lot. This generation doesn't.
Mhm.
You
That's
know,
right.
I'm thankful my daughter's 26 and she's a reader. She can go through a book, a night easy. But I think it's really important to read. I can't stress that enough.
Yeah, absolutely. Because there's a saying out there too, and I've been using it a lot, and that is that readers are leaders.
That's right.
They're
That's
critical
right.
thinkers, and they make their own opinions. Readers don't follow the masses.
Absolutely.
How's that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well-
You mentioned archaeology a little just about 2 minutes ago.
Yes.
I just put together the text for a video that I'm going to do here in the next day or three. And that is on archaeology find in Antarctica.
Oh, very interesting.
Few years ago, they found two 11 inches tall. One was 11, one was 12 inches tall, perfect human skeletons.
Wow.
And this right now, of course, if you go places, then you say, oh yeah, this was debunked. Well, it wasn't debunked 6 or 7 years ago when they found it, because it showed up in archaeology newsletters and reports, and there was written up on it, and they said this was phenomenal, and then it disappeared. I have pictures of it, and I'm going to show that on the, if you go to Broadcast Team Alpha on YouTube here in about a week or so, you're going to find it. I'm going to explain, because not just that, also on Broadcast Team Alpha, there is another video documentary that Nori and I did, and that is on the Mars pictures. There is one frame coming out of the Gigapan pictures on Mars that show very clearly about a foot tall humanoid standing with its back up against, leaning back up against a rock. Those short people, they were in Antarctica, and they are on Mars still.
Really?
So just watch for that video, because it's going to be very explanatory, and they're going to show the pictures of it.
Well, what are your thoughts when somebody says to you that Mars is a dead planet, like its core is dead?
Yeah, my name is Cleopatra too.
I was
All
going to
right,
say Musk would
Cleopatra.
not be, Elon Musk would not be putting that kind of money to observe it
Right.
if it was.
No,
All
no.
right. I think anything about Antarctica is really fascinating because it's just one of those places now that is starting to it's starting to give up its secrets, even though we're only allowed to have so many of them. But now you've got, what is it? Is it Iraq that's coming in and staking its claim in Antarctica as well now?
Yeah.
One of those countries? Yeah.
They
So
want to put up a base there. I think
yeah,
is what we
see?
just read. Yeah.
So
Good.
there's a lot of stuff that's happening.
Yep. Absolutely. And in that video documentary on the Mars pictures, I think it's the first or the second picture into it. There is the rover took a picture,
Mm,
and there is a gray standing in front of it, clear as a bell.
mm,
This was either got away from NASA, or
mhm.
it is the people in even in Australia that got a hold of it
Right,
before that NASA got their hands on it. But
right,
it shows the being standing there, and you can see the markings on it that is typical for NASA when they come back. So
mm,
that's the real thing, and there are people up there.
right, right.
Yeah.
So, in the show description, of course, we've got your website. I'm going to put it up here as well, just on our chat, so everybody can see that, so they can go over and see your videos. So, for those who are listening, what is your website?
Broadcastteamalpha.com is the website.
Okay, so it is in chat, and we did have it streaming across
Yeah.
the screen for the entire evening. It is also in the show description with all the other links that you sent.
Yeah.
So as we're nearing the top of the hour, tell everybody what you have coming up or anything you want to promote. Please feel free to do that.
Yeah, first of all, go to broadcastteamalpha.com, go into the picture gallery. There is 5,000 unbelievable pictures that should not exist, but it does.
Ooh,
So have a look
That's
at that.
fun.
Also, Broadcast Team Alpha on YouTube. We got several shows a week coming out. And of course, this book that I mentioned earlier, Spiritual Science, Higher Conscious Thinking, and How to Access the Universal Consciousness. It teaches you how to use your mind in ways you normally would think would be impossible. It talks about a lot of different things that is way outside of the box. And also, I got a whole chapter in it and on time travel,
very nice.
Cool.
how it actually can be done.
The real Doctor Who.
Nice.
If you go to broadcastteamalpha.com and go into the picture gallery, I believe it is on page 15, where you have two pictures showing evidence of time slippage between two different timelines and time travel. And I took the pictures. So just for the fun of it, go there and read the text. When you click on the picture, you can read the text and explain how I did it.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, thank you for joining us again this evening. It's just always a pleasure. It's a lot of fun and love bouncing ideas around. And this is one that's sort of, like I said, you're going from one extreme with a disclosure all the way to the exopolitics. It's something that people are really on the fence with respects to both topics, really. So it's always nice just to see somebody put it out there and throw
Oh,
caution to the wind. Just,
yeah. I
you
just
know,
I just got a text on the phone from somebody saying, time travel, what is the future going to be like? And we don't have time to talk much about that, but I would tell you, I am not worried about the future at all. In my timeline, it's going to be good because I have created it. If you want to come and help and help us create a good future, to stay in a timeline where things are going to be good, come and join us in the mastermind that we have created. Send us an email to themastermindconnection@gmail.com, and I'll send you a link so you can come and participate on Sundays when we do the sessions, because we create things out of seemingly nothing sometimes, and it is fun.
Well, that's fantastic. So can they hook up with you on that also through your website? Is that on there?
Yeah, you can get there from there.
Okay, perfect. So it's
Yeah.
a one-stop shop basically, and they can find everything. Well, I love it. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you,
And
Ollie.
yeah, I
Yeah.
would everybody go check out broadcastteamalpha.com. Check out the website, go look at the pictures, hook up with Augie, and go check out his YouTube page and his show. And join us here next week, of course. So we'll go through all of that as well. But Augie, thank you, and I will get you some links.
Oh, that'd
Thank
be
you,
great.
Augie. Have a great weekend. Happy St. Patty's Day.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. You just call and I'll be back. I never met a microphone I didn't like. So.
I love
it.
that.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you,
Good night.
Augie. Good night.
Good night.
Well, guys, we have come to the end of another fantastic segment, and I'm really thrilled that you guys enjoyed it. And thank you all for tuning in. Everybody in the chat room, you guys make it that much more fun all the time. So thank you for that. Big thank you to Aage Nost for tuning in and sharing his information and his his knowledge with us, his research. It's always nice to hear somebody else's perspective about things. Big thank you to Folgers Coffee for sponsoring tonight's show, along with Wednesday night's show every week. We appreciate you so very much. Big thank you to Justin Snicker and Steve McGinnis. Next week, we welcome back Jack Roth. And if you guys were here listening to him talking about killing Kennedy, well, you also probably heard me carrying on and on about his film series called Extraordinary. And there are 3 different ones. And we're starting with number 1, which is the Stan Romanek story. And this is pretty compelling if you guys go in and Google Stan Romanek, because he basically was having some crazy ET experiences. I mean, this is pretty well documented and, with a twist on it. So he's going to come on and talk to us about that, to which I cannot wait. Thursday night, we're going to be welcoming back Mark Ollie, and he's going to be discussing the conspiracy theories behind the moon landing and so much more. So Mark always does well, wealth of information, fantastic archaeologist out of the UK, and no doubt about it, it's going to be one show worth listening to. So thank you all. Have a fantastic weekend, and we shall see you next week. Good night.